Right, the next couple of days are going to be quite tough on Matt Hancock, the health secretary, because he's been taken to court over the lockdown policies that we've seen recently. And in this video, we're going to talk about what's happening with the lockdown, the latest, but also the documents that we've now received publicly that shows how the government's scientists and government advisors in general try to scare people, how they used tactics to scare the public into believing in lockdown and also the latest on the immunity passport. But before we start talking about Matt Hancock's court case, you have about a week, 8 days left to get your latest, I believe in Britain, merchandise or the other media merchandise using the special discount code THANKYOU15 to get 15% off of all our merchandise. The link is in the description. Definitely check it out. You only have 8 days left. Now, let's talk about Matt Hancock. What's happening with the health secretary? Because there's a case against the government and the health secretary for making these decisions. And Sasha Lord, who's a nightclub operator, but also the head of Pizza Express, Hugh Osman, decided to start this case. Their argument is that why is it that non-essential shops are opening before pubs and restaurants and their places like that? And I get the argument because when you have non-essential shops, people going in, not really socially distancing, people who really care about these regulations, as opposed to a restaurant like Pizza Express that will, of course, practice social distancing. People just sit at their table, and obviously when they follow the rules that the government has imposed onto them. Why is it that shops can open but not Pizza Express, for example? Now, the latest is that the order from Mr. Justice Swift has now said that Matt Hancock has until 10 a.m. on Tuesday, the 6th of April, 2 days from now, to serve his response to the application that came from those two guys. So this is actually interesting because obviously Matt Hancock is being taken to court as health secretary, not as an individual. So he could either go to court himself, the High Court, or he could send representatives and officials from the Department of Health to defend him and his actions. Of course, Mr. Osman from Pizza Express has said that, well, it makes no sense to open indoor, non-essential retailers 5 weeks before indoor hospitality. There is a massive argument for this. As I said, if you want to follow logic and rationality, of course, Mr. Osman is right. So he's also said that this case offered some hope this weekend for those of us who cherish British freedom and who crave a return to rational and democratic governing. In a democracy, he said, evidence and rationality should still matter, and so too should transparency, challenge, and accountability. This government has been given an easy ride in Parliament, with the official opposition being nowhere to be seen. Now, that's a good point. Where is Sir Keir Starmer? I know that he's come out the last couple of days being skeptical towards these immunity passports that are going to come out. And we have some updates, some good news and bad news when it comes to these passports, domestic passports. But there's absolutely no opposition from the Labour Party in terms of the overall policies that's coming from the government. In fact, we've just discovered, thanks to the Telegraph and Gordon Rayner, the tactics, the covert tactics that were used by the state to scare the public quite successfully, actually, since last March, and it's now being exposed how they did it and why they thought they need to do it. They basically use psychological strategies to manipulate the public into thinking something that they wanted. So this document has said that a substantial number of people still do not feel sufficiently personally threatened. This is back in March 2020. They said it could be that they are reassured by the low death rate in their demographic group, although the levels obviously concern and may be rising. They say that they have to be effective. This must also empower people by making clear the actions that they can take, no reduce the threats. So this document presented 14 options for increasing compliance by the public, saying use the media to increase a sense of personal threat, a tactic which was seen as having a high effectiveness in the past. Yeah, that is absolutely true. We've had some members of Sage, some of them, who now admitted that they felt embarrassed by this advice. But it's too late, isn't it? Because it's happened. It's worked. Yeah, all these opinion polls that we are seeing, people are still in favor of lockdown. I know we are always skeptical when it comes to opinion polls, but when you have the high number of people being pro this and pro that, that's the main reason. These covert tactics and strategies work really, really well. No one is actually saying at this point that this disease is, or it doesn't exist, or it's not even a thing. We know it's there. But in terms of the level and the severity of it, the media and the state did a great job to scare people. So this has come out to expose what the government have been doing. And Paul Dolan, who's a professor of behavioral science at the London School of Economics, has said that the idea that you need to increase people's personal threat is actually a problem. It will create a problem. It sets a very dangerous precedent. That's true. It's also said that once the fear has been stoked, you can't diminish it. It's not like turning a tap on and off. You can't turn the fear off. Absolutely true. It's talking about how there were other ways to use in terms of communication rather than just completely scaring people, saying that millions of people will lose their lives, which was never true. And now the facts show that. But it is what it is. It's happened. Over the last year, we've been living in this situation thanks to these guys. What we have now is Boris Johnson has been under a lot of pressure when it comes to these domestic passports. The good news is he's finally changed his mind on certain aspects. Pubs and restaurants will not require domestic passports. We have a list of, he's going to announce it tomorrow on Monday, but the list of places that won't need any domestic passports are pubs, restaurants, shops, and obviously transport, as well as hotels. Good. The places that will need it will be all the big events, stadiums, nightclubs, and festivals and theaters and all these places. So, of course, the people who are scared and are in favor of these domestic passports will fully back this idea. As a compromise, it's slightly better than having every place asking for some sort of domestic passport. So this is good. The problem we've faced is a number of people have now pointed out lack of logic. Imagine, so major sports stadiums, a football stadium, requires this divisive policy, right? You have to show your document. But when you take the train or a bus to get there, a packed kind of trains and also pubs before the stadium, before the match, all those places will be packed. None of them are going to ask for domestic passports. But then when you get to the stadium, now you have to show your passport. Do you see the lack of logic here? And it's absolutely like nonsensical situation. That's only one issue around this. The other thing is that they've said that fans could be segregated in stadiums based on their status. Oh, wow. I mean, the communist activists are going to be very, very excited about this dividing society. And it is what it is, as I said earlier. But Boris Johnson is going to be facing this vote in Parliament. A lot of Tory backbenchers are voting against it. Sir Keir Starmer has hinted to be voting against it. So Boris actually needs a lot of Labour MPs to support him. He could potentially lose this vote. This is not like extending the lockdown powers, anything like that. He could potentially lose this, but we'll have to wait to see how MPs actually act in Parliament. But the government, again, it just shows the empty promises and flip-flopping. That's my problem. It's not really being pro or against these passports at this point. When you have Nadim Zahawi, who was in charge of this partly, saying that back in January, we have no plans to introduce passports. Okay, but now it's happening. That's my problem. If just be transparent, be honest, saying I can't predict. Things could change in the future. Stop lying. Stop promising things that you know you can't keep. And this is the problem I have with politicians from all sides and all parties at this point. There's absolutely no accountability, no transparency, and the media are not scrutinizing them. But we are, on this channel, trying our best to tell you the truth that you're not hearing in the mainstream media. As I said earlier, you have 8 days left to use the discount code THANKYOU15 to get 15% off all of our merchandise as a thank you, a big thank you to all of you who've been backing this channel during these dark times. So definitely check out the link in the description. Get your merchandise now. If you are a member of the channel, you guys get 25% discount. The code is in the community tab on the channel. If you want to become a member, then check out the link in the description or find the join button. For 16p a day, you'll get access to our regular Q&As, video calls, weekly newsletters, which was sent out earlier today, and a number of other benefits. If you want to support the channel, if you want us to survive because we are facing some problems from YouTube as usual, then definitely consider becoming a member. Thanks again for watching. I'm Tousi, and happy Easter.